Hey guys, BJ here, and today we're going to go over how you make armor for custom action figures. So I'm going to show you a few examples, and then we're going to show you the process that I do. So starting off with this guy right here, this is armor that I created, armor I created, armor I created, so on and so forth. In here you can see many different examples of how I created my own action figure armor or accessories. You can see here on the knees, this was a piece that I cut off of a DreamWorks dragon, How to Train Your Dragon, and I used it for the knee guards here for the boots. This is an actual dragon action figure I made. I did in another video. You can see the armor that I created on him. And so what you do is you take something like this right here. This is a dragon tail. This is something that I could use, this little piece, for shoulder armor, right? So what I'm going to do is first have a boiling pot. If you look over here at the boiling pot, I have it on the temperature that's going to be right above or right below boiling. So if it's on boiling, it's too hot. If it's at boiling, or if it's not boiling, but it's still steaming, that's the perfect one. Everybody's stove has different settings. And so you take whatever armor or piece you're going to use. Me, personally, I'll find a figure that I just intentionally want to tear apart for using different parts for a custom action figure. So I'll take something like this. Be careful, the water's hot. Or something like this. These were both bodies from dragons that I made. And so that one's really hot, so we're going to leave it on there. My suggestion would be to use tongs. So then we're going to take them over here to my little workstation at our kitchen table. So, as you can see, this was an action figure stand, but there's little parts that I could use. This was attached to this. So I just heated this up. As you can see, it kind of got squished. And I popped that off. And I think that would make a good belt piece, or it could make shoulder armor. As you can see, we could put it right there. We could put it right there. We could put it on the shoulder. There's lots of options. So the reason that we're heating this up is because we want it to be malleable. We want it to be able to be bent and twisted and manipulated. So like that right there, I just heated it up. I was able to peel that off. And so this is something that I could use for, let's say, a shoulder piece. And so what I'll do is I'll just take a little X-Acto knife, and seeing how it's nice and warm, you see how that X-Acto knife just cuts right through it like butter? And see, I don't need all this extra stuff, and so I can just cut right through it, and it's not a problem. So I'm not going to go through the whole process here, because that would be kind of boring for you guys, but essentially, you can just cut it off. Now, when working with an X-Acto knife, it's kind of common sense, but be careful, obviously. And so essentially I just tear that off, and then once I had it, I'd be good to go. Another good tool to have when doing this kind of stuff is wire cutters, because when I've done it most of the way, I'll just get some wire cutters and snip off the rest. So like that right there. And this is really easy for me to do because I heated up the plastic. And so again, just tear that off, or twist it off in this case. And so now I have a piece that I could put on somebody's shoulder, just like that. All I'd need to do is paint it silver. But the problem is, now I have all this leftover stuff. So then, what I would do is I would take my Dremel tool here, as you can see, and your Dremel tool shall come with several attachments. This one is for cutting into things, as I'll show you in just a second, and then we'll get to how we're going to turn this to where it can fit on the piece. So I got this little other body right here, and I really like this, but I don't want to go through the trouble of cutting it. So all I'm going to do So again, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but you get the idea. I'll use my Dremel tool to cut off that piece right there, and then that can go on somebody's knee. But anyways, so now that since I already have this one off, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put my Dremel attachment on, And I'll take this right here, and you want to be careful because you don't want to get your fingers, but I'm just going to sand this down real quick, and then we can show you how it would fit on a piece of armor. So just 1 second. Okay, so as you can see, I took my Dremel tool and I just dremeled that out right there. And so one of the things I want to show you real quick is when you're doing this, you're going to get leftovers. So let me show you real quick. So you see these leftovers right here? These you can just pull off most of the time. If you can't pull them off, then just take your Dremel tool and clean it up by doing the edge right in there. So not too complicated. And so then, naturally what we would do is we would paint it. But we're not going to go through that process right now because the idea is just to show you how to get to the point where you get the armor. So then you have something like this left over. And then you can take it, and I personally, I'll just super glue it on. And then that way it's stuck. But if you have a bigger piece like this, another trick you can use is what I like to do is drill a little hole into the piece of armor and drill a little hole into the body. So I'll be right back and we'll show you what we're talking about. So as you can see here, what I did is I drilled a little hole into the piece of armor, and then I took a piece of metal wire and I stuck it in there. And then afterwards, with the excess wire, I just snip it off because we don't want to go super deep into the action figure. So with the same size drill bit, you're going to drill a hole into the arm of the action figure or shoulder, and then essentially you put a little bit of glue on here, and then you push it in, and then once that's in all the way securely and there's glue in there, then it'll stay securely and you don't have to worry about it coming out. Now, again, most of the time with smaller pieces, like I would say this right here, this armor, what I'll do is I'll just sand this part and sand this part and then glue it. Because you want to sand it before you glue it. That creates grooves for the glue to create a suction type property which will keep it from coming off. So anyways, but bigger pieces of armor, yes, you're going to want to do something along these lines. That way you know that your custom armor isn't going to come off. And when you're done with it, you can paint it black, you can paint it green, purple, blue, whatever. As you can see with most of my customs, I just stick to the metal. I think that's a good color to use for any kind of barbaric looking critter. This piece right here, I did the metal wire in. And as you can see, I have these wings attached to the back. It's the same thing. All I did was get that little piece of metal wire into this piece and then stuck it into the back of the figure, and now it's in there securely and tightly, and I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. So that's how you create custom action figure armor. If you guys have any other questions about how to do customs, the process, or anything else that goes into it, make sure to give me a shout out, because I'd love to tell you guys about this, because the more customs that we get and the more creations that we get, the more fun that we all have, and the more things we learn, and the more content we have for each other to watch. So thanks again for watching. Please like, please subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye.